Hello everyone and welcome back to BB Simplified by Dr. Vinky Sharma. Continuing with the marathon class on organizational behavior, we have now come down on to third unit. The third unit talks about behavioral dynamics. So in today's session, we will be covering and understanding that how people interact, communicate and lead in organizations. By the end of this video, you will clearly understand interpersonal behavior, communication, transactional analysis, the Johari Window, and key leadership theories and styles, especially those followed in Indian organization. So let us begin. Interpersonal behavior, the very first concept that we need to understand under behavioral dynamics. Organization function through relationships. This interpersonal behavior simply means the way two or more individuals interact with one another in a workplace. It involves communication, perception, attitude, motivation, and emotional understanding. Healthy interpersonal behavior promotes teamwork, trust, cooperation, while on the other hand, poor behavior often results in conflict or isolation. So this interpersonal behavior is nothing but how two people interact with each other. For example, a supportive manager who listens and values the input, he will always encourage employees to give their best. While on the other hand, an indifferent one may create frustration and silence among the team members, and there would be unhealthy interpersonal behavior into that work setting. Next, to understand it better, we will be understanding the elements of interpersonal behavior. So let's look at the core element that makes interpersonal behavior effective. First is understanding self and others. So what we need to do initially is to first understand yourself and then start understanding others, why any individual behaves in a particular manner. This helps in developing trust, maintaining open communication, showing empathy and giving constructive feedback. So these qualities actually build strong professional relationship. Right? So whenever we understand ourselves, we understand others, this mutual trust and respect follows. We are able to have effective communication among each other. We also come down onto a stage of empathy and emotional control. Empathy is nothing but understanding the other's viewpoint. And then there is an emotional control. Also, along with constructive feedback, it becomes easy to understand others, and the interpersonal behavior becomes an effective behavior. Imagine there is a project discussion going on the table. So when everyone listens with empathy and offers balanced feedback, what happens is that the outcome is collaboration instead of competition. So these elements of interpersonal behavior helps in developing a healthy competition, rather I would say, in the organization. Coming on to the next concept, that is communication. We'll see the concept and we'll also see the process of communication. It is said that communication is the lifeblood of every organization. So what is communication? It is the process of exchanging information and creating mutual understanding so that the actions that an individual is performing are performed in a right direction. This communication process has 5 stages. There is a sender, there is a message, then there is a channel, the receiver and the feedback. This message is always transmitted through the channel, goes to the receiver, and the receiver gives the feedback to the sender. There are different types of communication that generally prevail in any organizational setting. For example, there is a formal communication that flows through official channel, for example, reports and meetings. Then there is informal type of a communication wherein comes the role of a grapevine. Grapevine I had explained to you earlier also, that grapevine is any information that travels through social interaction. Another type of communication are upward communication and downward communication, along with horizontal communication. Upward is that flows in the hierarchy from bottom to top. Downward is the one that flows from top to bottom, and horizontal communication happens along the departmental level, on the same level. So remember that communication is effective only when the receiver understands the message in the same sense as intended by the sender. Otherwise, it is said that it is not an effective communication. If I am not able to understand, or if you are not able to understand what I am trying to deliver, then of course this entire process of communication would go into vain. But then while communicating, there are certain barriers to communication. Barriers are nothing but some problems that may occur during the process of communication. So even the best message can fail if the barrier exists. What are the common barriers that generally are seen in the organizational setting? The first one is the physical barrier. This is like noise and distance. Noise could be, maybe there is a noise outside. While we are communicating, there are other people who are talking on the phone as a part of their job. So this noise is a part of a physical barrier. Distance can be one of the physical barrier. Then comes the psychological barrier, emotional instability, the perception of an individual, the attitude of an individual. They all comes under psychological barriers. So when any person or any individual is not emotionally stable, then of course whatever you are trying to deliver to him, he will not be able to understand the message clearly, right? Next is a semantic barrier. Semantic barrier is nothing but it is related to language differences, wherein the confusion related to certain words occur. For example, if I say that I will give you a ring, so this ring here may create a confusion. Am I talking about a phone call, or am I talking about giving you literally a ring that is worn in a finger, right? So these are semantic barriers. Next is organizational barrier. These include rigid hierarchies, rules and policies in the organization, because of which people do not feel comfortable in the transmission of the information and messages. Next is the cultural barrier, that includes differences in the beliefs and value systems of the employees, because it is said that there is diversity in the workplace. Different people comes from different cultural backgrounds, they come from different value system, they come from different belief system, right? So these are few barriers that generally occur in the process of communication. Now, what is the role of a good manager here? A good manager should try to remove these barriers by simplifying the language. He should be able to encourage employees to communicate and to provide feedback. And finally, a manager should create an environment where everyone feels heard. Sabki baat suni jaye. So that environment actually do not, remove these barriers 100%, but tries to overcome these barriers while in the process of communication. Now let's come on to the concept of transactional analysis. This is a concept which was given by Eric Berne. Eric Berne's transactional analysis, or we generally call it as TA, it helps us understand the psychology of communication. It explains that every person operates from 3 ego states, right? And those 3 ego states are the parent state, adult state, and child state. So it is said that transactional analysis is a study of social interaction based on ego states. When I say social interaction, here we are actually saying that how the employees or an individual within the organization setting interacts among each other is always based on the ego state. This is what was defined by Eric Berne. Now let's understand these 3 ego states. Now, when I talk about this parent ego state, this state is generally authoritative, it is guiding, it is rule driven, right? So this is a ego state wherein we say that individual has an attitude of being authoritative. That one individual who is always of a helping nature, who would always act as a parent of all the friends in your class, right? So that individual is behaving in a particular manner because of this parent ego state, which is more prominent in his behavior. The next ego state is an adult state. This state is more rational in nature, it is more objective oriented, it is based on the facts. So whatever they talk about, they always talk on the basis of the numbers. They are more rational, they are more logical in their talks. The last state is the child state. Here comes the role of emotional creativity and spontaneity. So these are those people who are very, very emotional. Their decisions and their talks may first consider the emotional aspect and then maybe the logical aspect. They are more spontaneous and they are very creative. So every conversation or transaction, we say it here. So in the concept of transactional analysis, the conversations are actually referred as transactions. So every transaction happens from one of these ego states. For example, a parent to child message sounds like "you must finish this now," while an adult to adult message sounds like "let's discuss how we can meet this deadline together." This effective communication happens in the adult to adult state. अब जो मोस्ट इफेक्टिव होती है उसको हम कहते हैं that it is always a adult to adult state conversation or a transaction, right? So these transactions occur when people communicate from these states. Now a question comes, can an individual always transact or communicate having one ego state only? No. In different situations, an individual may change his or her states depending on the situation and to whom an individual is talking to. But then yes, it is generally seen and an individual style is defined on the way he usually behaves most of the time. So an individual may be prominent on a parent ego state style or a adult state style or a child state style. Let's see that what are the different types of transactions. So Burney identified 3 types of communication transactions. The first one is a complementary transaction. These transaction occurs when messages are parallel, when there is a mutual understanding. When I say parallel, that means like adult to adult, wherein communication continues smoothly. So it is called as complementary transaction. The next is crossed transaction. That happens when the response comes from an unexpected ego state, right? So generally miscommunication happen in this type of conversation. You are trying to communicate as a parent to child, but the response that you get comes as child to parent, right? So here there are crossed communication or crossed transactions. This usually causes misunderstanding. The third one is the ulterior transaction, that it carries a hidden message behind the words, creating confusion or manipulation. So these are the conversations which may have some double meanings. You may say something but it meant something else. So managers should aim for complementary transaction because this is considered as the most smooth conversation style, right? This keeps workplace communication positive and transparent. Now let's come on to the concept of Johari Window. Why this name? Because this model was given by Joseph Luft and Harry Ingham. So combining the names of the two concept givers, we come up with the name as Johari Window. The Johari Window is a simple but a powerful model that improves self-awareness and interpersonal relationships. Here we see that there are different quadrants. These quadrants talks about that what is happening while we are trying to understand the self-awareness and the relationships within the organization. Let's first talk about the open area. This open area is the area which is known to self and it is also known to others. So this area represents the transparency. Here what happens, there is a free exchange of information, right? I know that what I am, people also know that side of mine, and so there is a free exchange of information. Then comes the blind area. This blind area is something which is not known to myself, but it is known to others. ये कुछ वो वाली चीजें होती हैं जो हमें लोग realize कराते हैं that this is what you do generally, and this is then known to self with the help of the feedback from others. So it is known to others but not known to self, and this portion reduces through the feedback. The third quadrant is the hidden area. This hidden area is known to self, but it is not known to others. Why? Because we intentionally hide it from the people. This is that part of your personality that you do not want others to know, right? So this is also called as a private self. It reduces through self-disclosure. ये जो no है, ये कैसे reduce होगा when an individual starts talking about themselves, and this happens only with the limited people, the bestest friend of yours, right? Then the last one is the unknown area. This is the area which is unknown to both. It is unknown to self, also it is unknown to others. So it is something which is yet to be discovered. It has a potential to discover. You know that one aspect of yours, जब आप उसको discover करते हो and you say, oh, okay, this was also one of the talent that I had, right? Now the goal of personal growth is to expand the open area. The intensity with which you will open yourself, the more you will open yourself, the more you will grow. Why? Because here there is a free exchange of information. People would start talking to you, would love to talk to you, and you will get more of the information. So this is one way by which you can actually move on to your own personal growth, right? So this open area will let you share more and receive more, and this builds trust and stronger teams. I hope this concept of Johari Window is clear. Coming on to the concept of leadership now. This leadership is the process of influencing people so that they willingly work towards common goal. Again, what we are doing, we are working towards a common goal. And how a leader's role is important in achieving the organizational goal? By influencing people to work willingly. A leader is the one who gives direction, inspires, motivates, and coordinates the efforts of the individuals in the workplace. Leadership is not about position. It is always about influence and vision. A true leader creates an environment where people feel capable, they feel valued, and they are aligned with organizational objective. There are some core functions of a leader, which is a leader always takes care of the vision of an organization. He keeps on motivating the employees. He keeps on guiding the people to move on to the right track, and is always ensuring the coordination among the employees. Let's now come on to a quick review of the leadership theories. It has been seen that over time, many theories have tried to explain what makes leadership effective. We will here be talking about only the main ones. The first theory is a trait theory. It is said that leadership depends on inborn traits. In fact, they say that leaders are born, not made. And when we say that they are born with special or specific traits. So this comes from the trait theory. The next one is the behavioral theory. It is said that leadership can be learned through behavior. Now, this theory is something different to what we had learned in the trait theory. In the trait theory, we said that leaders are born and not made. But then this behavioral theory says that it is not always the case. Leadership can be learned through the behavior of self as well as behavior of others. The next one is the contingency theory. Now, this theory states that there are some times when leaders evolve through the situation of contingencies. So, the right style depends on the situation. This effective style of leadership always depends on the situation in which you are in. In cases of contingency, it has been observed that various leaders have evolved. The fourth one is the transformational and transactional leadership. This transformational and transactional leadership has these theories are related to the transactional analysis and the transformation that a leader tries to bring among the employees. So this modern approach of transactional and transformational leadership focuses on motivation and vision. Right? Now let's look at these theories briefly one by one. The first one is the trait theory. This trait theory believes leaders are born and not made. It is said that successful leaders often display intelligence, confidence, integrity, determination, and sociability, which are the traits present in a leader, and it is said that these leaders are born with these traits. For example, Mahatma Gandhi. His honesty and moral courage, or maybe we can talk about Ratan Tata, whose vision and humility are the examples of these traits. So they are the leadership traits that inspire millions of people. However, modern research shows that while traits help, leadership also require learning and adaptability, which is what we will now see in the next theory, that is behavioral theory. These behavioral theories shifted focus from who leaders are to what they do. This theory was given by Ohio and Michigan. They had talked about two dimensions, who they are and what do they do. And when I say who they are, that means here we are talking about people orientation. What do they do is we are talking about task orientation. The Ohio State and Michigan studies found two essential behaviors. Task-oriented behavior is the one that focuses on the structure, planning, and productivity. So that is initiating the structure. The people-oriented part focuses on relationships and employee welfare. They are more considerate towards the relationship among the people. The best leaders balance both. They drive results without ignoring the human needs. Right? So this is how you can become an effective leader, by balancing both the orientations. The next theory is contingency theory. Contingency theory says that there is no single best style of leadership. According to Fielder's model, leadership effectiveness depends on the match between a leader's style and the situation. कौन सी सिचुएशन में आप कौन सा स्टाइल ऑफ लीडरशिप को अडेप्ट कर रहे हो, दैट इज व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ कंटिंजेंसी थ्योरी. Then Hersey-Blanchard model was also there under this. This model suggests that leaders should adapt their style based on the maturity and readiness of their followers. From telling and selling to participating and delegating. हर बार उनको सिर्फ बताते रहना और ये कहते रहना कि आपको ये करना है, आपको हर टाइम आपको सेल करना पड़े, उससे बेटर है that the leader should change their style as participating and delegating. So these leadership styles should vary with the followers' maturity. जैसे जैसे followers grow करेंगे वैसे वैसे अपना स्टाइल भी हमें चेंज करना पड़ेगा. So it is said that great leaders read the situation, they adjust their approach and they lead accordingly. Next one is transformational and transactional leadership. This is a modern organization leadership style that often distinguish between transactional and transformational leadership. What is transactional leadership? It focuses on rewards and performance. Right? This leadership manages by the performance of the employees, and it also further defines that it is dependent on the rewards. So how it is possible? With the help of clear goals, measurable results, and the consequences. Similarly, the transformational leaderships, it is managed by managed by inspiring the followers with the vision, values, and personal examples. They are the one who motivate beyond self-interest. They encourage innovation and commitment. So this transformation leadership style is dependent completely on inspiring the followers. For example, a transformational leader motivates beyond targets. How can we all forget Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam? He was a transformational leader. He used to inspire a nation through the vision and humility. The next one is prevailing leadership style in the Indian organization. Now, after having learned all the theories of leadership, we'll see that what are the prevailing leadership style in the Indian organization setting. We generally see participative leadership style in Infosys, Wipro. Then there are transformational leadership styles that is generally seen in the Tata Group. There are authoritative leadership style, which is actually seen in the family-run firms or family-run businesses. We also see servant leadership style into educational and NGO sectors. These leadership styles are evolving. Traditional family-run businesses often relied on authoritations, decision-making, but today companies like Infosys, Wipro, and Tata Group practice participative and transformational style. They focus more on values, collaboration, and environment. We also see servant leadership in the education and NGO sectors, where leaders serve first and lead by example. The modern Indian leader combines global professionalism with cultural empathy. Having understood this, let's move on to summarize whatever we have learned today. From this unit, we have seen that interpersonal behavior drives teamwork and trust. Communication is effective only with clear feedback and no barriers. Then transactional analysis in Johari Window improves self-awareness and relationship. Then the leadership is situational. It blends trait, behaviors, and adaptability. Let's look on to the exam point of view. Review all the definitions, diagrams, and examples, especially transactional analysis, Johari Window, and leadership theories like Fielder or Maslow's. Also remember that leadership begins with understanding people and behavior dynamics in the science of that understanding. The questions that generally come in the examination are: explain transactional analysis, what is Johari Window, describe leadership theories with examples. So thank you students for learning with BBA Simplified by Dr. Vinky Sharma. In the next video, we will be discussing about Unit 4 Group Behavior. Do like, share and subscribe for more marathon classes. Thank you so much for watching.